I'm Chris Lee Moore with RowdyC.com. I have chosen to make this video as myself, not as the rowdy character or any of the ugly American sports fans. I apologize for this choice of action, but to be frank, I could not come up with a particularly clever or entertaining idea for how to conclude the MLB Postseason Fallout series of ugly American sports videos. I did have an idea for a video, but it was completely contingent on the Toronto Blue Jays winning the World Series. That did not happen. I bear no ill will to the Los Angeles Dodgers for their triumph, as you will no doubt surmise by the words I'm going to say soon. Suffice it to say, I have chosen instead to take this time to vent out my feelings on the state of the game of baseball and Major League Baseball in particular, in hopes that my words will reach out to people in delivering some form of common sense, as it were. We have just experienced one of the most enjoyable, entertaining World Series in history. And sadly, because of the ultimate outcome, it will have done very little to assuage the opinions of certain individuals who in the next couple of years are going to press for actions that could be very detrimental and destructive to the future health of the game. For those who are not aware, following the conclusion of the 2026 baseball season, the current collective bargaining agreement between the owners of the Major League Baseball clubs and the Major League Baseball Players Association will expire. Many people believe that as such, the 2027 season will be put at great risk, fearing that the owners, at the persuasion of the Commissioner of Baseball, will lock out the players from taking part in the efforts to try to force a new collective bargaining agreement with certain terms that the players are very much against. Primarily and foremost, imposing a cap on how much every team can spend on player salaries. This is due to the accusations among many people that there is a level of competitive imbalance in the game of baseball, due to the fact that there is a huge gap between the top spenders and the lowest spenders, with the highest payroll in baseball currently now being in excess of $300 million, while the lowest are still only spending around the range of $70 million. Many people have clamored that such a cap is necessary to restore any type of balance in the game, supposedly like what is in other sports leagues, like the NFL and the NBA. There is a problem with this method of thinking. There is no evidence from actual real-life events to prove that there is actually any type of competitive imbalance in baseball, and that restricting salaries in other sports leagues has led to balance in those sports. Simply put, Major League Baseball has had the most competitive balance of any major professional sport in the entire world in at least the past 25 to 40 years. In my own lifetime, since 1979, 24 different teams have won the World Series. In that same time span, only 18 NFL teams have won a Super Bowl. Only 16 different teams have won an NBA championship in that same time span. In every decade going back to at least the 1960s, the NFL has seen one team win at least 3 championships in that decade and seen a team repeat as champions at least once. 4 times since the 1960s, the NBA has seen one team win at least 5 championships in a span of no more than 11 years. When the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series this year, it marked only the 3rd time since the 1980s that a team successfully won back-to-back World Series. As of this video's posting, only 5 teams in all of Major League Baseball have never won a World Series. Of those, only 1 team has never even made it to the World Series. By contrast, 10 teams have never won an NBA championship, and 12 teams have never won a Super Bowl. And above all else, since 2001 alone, 9 different Major League Baseball teams have won either their first World Series ever or their first in more than 50 years. That would include... Which is what brings me to probably the most important factor of all. The claim that trying to force competitive balance on the game is necessary for the game's overall health and improving its popularity. Simply put, small markets winning in baseball do not help the game. This is something I do not like to have to say, but it is the unfortunate truth. When my Texas Rangers won the World Series in 2023, it was beyond a doubt one of the greatest moments of my life. It was also, loath as I am to admit it, ended up being the lowest watched World Series in history. I will never forget the 1997 World Series, which pitted Cleveland against the Florida Marlins. Before the series even started, an executive of NBC, the network that was to carry the World Series, by the name of Don Ohlmeyer, publicly declared that he and everyone else at NBC wanted the series to end in a sweep. They were not wanting to have to carry that series containing 2 small markets that they knew no one was interested in. Indeed, that would have been the lowest watched World Series of the time had it not ended up going the full 7 games. Simply put, the Los Angeles Dodgers are good for baseball. They are as good for baseball as their counterparts in the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers, have been for many, many years. They are a team loaded with superstars, loaded with charisma, and one that makes people have to tune in, whether you love them or hate them. In the last 2 years, since the Rangers won the World Series, viewership for Major League Baseball, and the postseason and World Series especially, have skyrocketed. The television ratings for the 2025 World Series are currently projected to be its highest since 2016. In my personal life, certain friends of mine have accused me of being a shill for Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred. I will freely admit there have been certain decisions and moves that Rob Manfred has made in recent years that I believe have been beneficial to the game of baseball. I have not approved of all of Manfred's moves, but for the most part, I do at least understand why they have been imposed or even just considered in some cases. That being said, the most detrimental thing that Manfred and the Major League Baseball owners can do at this moment is force a work stoppage within the next year or so to try and force salary restrictions on the players to try and claim it is necessary for some form of competitive balance that such a cap will not assure. The only thing salary caps assure is more money in the owners' pockets. And sadly, it seems that too many fans are going along with it simply out of the disdain of how much Major League athletes are making. It truly seems like many fans and some people in the media are dreaming of some fantasy setting where the athletes will go back to making so little money that they have to have jobs in the off-season, playing for small market teams that they really don't want to play for, but will just use their pride to will that team to a World Series, or we'll get to see two small markets like Pittsburgh and the Athletics, wherever city they may be in, and it will be the highest rated World Series in all of history, and at the end of it all, the winners will cry tears of joy holding that trophy and cry about how it's all about love of the game! This will never happen. In fact, the one time baseball had absolute competitive imbalance was before free agency was won by the unionizing players. From the 1920s up until the middle of the 1960s, the New York Yankees were a virtual lock to make the World Series almost every year, with only World War II separating that stretch. They won the American League pennant 15 times in 18 years, from 1947 until 1964. And nobody cared so long as most of the players were making pennies. There was no such love of the game back in those days. If anything, the players were playing for the money more because they needed the money. Players on the New York Yankees openly declared they needed to win so they could get their World Series check to live off of. Major League Baseball right now is in a position better than it has been in a very long time. The one thing it does not need is for everything to be halted by a work stoppage imposed by the owners, not the players, in a desperate attempt to try to force the players to let the owners grub more money on them. A move that will not lead to supposed better competition in Major League Baseball. There is no situation where a Yamamoto or Shohei Ohtani will sign with a small market club and guide that team to a World Series for the betterment of the whole game. I'm Chris Lee Moore. Stay rowdy, my friends.